is Hometown Station AM 1220 KHTS. Make sure you go to hometownstation.com and you can tune into this. Also, this will be up as a podcast later on today. This is the Home 411 show with Randall Winter Construction and Randall Winter. Thank you to all of our sponsors, Softly Electric. We just got done talking to Jeff Softly. We're also going to be talking to Jeff Brown of NV Landscape, and we're talking all things landscape coming up right now. And I'm going to let you guys take over. Because, again, you guys keep the cheat sheet away from me. So I'm just going to give it to you.
You don't know what to ask.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
You know our names. That's
good. Exactly.
What we do, well, Jeff, I've met Jeff years and years ago when he came out to my house in Southern Oaks to check out my landscaping. He did a great design job for me. And Gail, my wife, said to say hello, by the way, Jeff.
So hello right back at her.
Thank you. And we're in a group together. We're all in a group together. So anyway, some of the frequently seen dry spots that we've noticed, especially in the summer, is that attributed to sprinklers, or give me some tips on that for the homeowner, what they should look for, Jeff, would you please?
Are you referring to like just brown spots in your lawn?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the brown spots in your lawn might be a sprinkler problem, might not be. The easiest thing to do is to walk out there and actually touch the soil right off the bat and go take a look at it and see if the soil's moist. And that's a good indicator right there if we're getting the irrigation, if it's actually penetrating to the soil or not.
So what does it mean if you go there and you touch it and it's wet, but it's brown? It's not something the average homeowner is going to figure out, is it?
There's a couple of things that you want to look out for there, you want to look at. And you want to decide whether, is it a sprinkler problem? Could it be that a nozzle is just misadjusted? Is it clogged? Could it also be something where maybe the soil's compacted and the water's not penetrating down into the soil? You might have water right on the surface, but it may not penetrate down in.
To the roots, huh?
Yeah. You might also have a pest or disease issue. Just because you see a brown spot there doesn't mean that it's a water problem. It could be. And one of the things that I do often is I carry a soil probe with me. A soil probe is a hollow cylinder that I can push into the soil, and I come back up with a core of soil. And it gives me a soil profile. So I can look at it and I can see, one, is it moist? How deep is it moist? What's the makeup of the soil? Is it going to be clay? Is it sandy? Is it a sandy loam? Does it have a lot of organic material in there? And it also shows me whether the roots have penetrated down into that level. So from that one little core sample, I can pull up here and I can determine a lot of information.
Wow, that's neat.
So that helps. But back to the original question, is it a dry spot? Well, this will help tell me. If, let's just say I go out there and I see that there is water going in, but maybe it's only penetrating 3/4 of an inch. That's not nearly enough. For a healthy lawn, you typically want to have water penetration into 12 to 18 inches, and even further. So you want to get the water deep so that those roots have a lot of resources to gather a lot of water. The deeper the roots that you have, the more resilient the plant is.
So when the roots go down there, they're actually going to the water, but they're also getting nutrients from the soil, I guess.
Right. Yeah, the roots are going to follow the water. And if your watering is only going down where, let's just say your water pattern is frequent and shallow, the water may only go down a couple of inches. But if you're watering infrequently but deeply, the roots will follow the water and go deeper. But back to your dry spot that you were asking about on there. Let's just say we take a look at this and we determine I don't see any pest or disease issues in here. It's the wrong time of year for fungus, so we don't have any fungus activity. We don't have any insects that could be burrowing into the root system, let's say like grubs. We don't see any present there. We look back up and we work our way back up. And I look at some things in here. Is the soil compacted? Was it very hard to get that soil probe into the soil? And if you have soil compaction, we can aerate, we can add other products to help break up and loosen the soil that's on here. So for a long-term solution, that could help. But let's just say it is compacted. You've taken care of that already. You've dealt with the compaction issue, but you still have a brown spot, and the sprinklers still seem to be covering. One of the things to look at is thatch. And thatch is an accumulation of the blades of grass from that lawn that actually create like an umbrella or a thatch roof. And what happens often is that water is being applied, but instead of it going through the root blades down into the soil and making themselves available to the roots, they're running off like an umbrella onto other areas, and you might see a brown spot. And you might only see that brown spot in the heat of summer when you've got a hot day like today, because some water might be penetrating through, but not enough. So if you're seeing something like that, you can rake out that thatch. Literally, just use a strong tined rake and rake that out, and that can help. Or you can renovate the turf at the proper time of the year. But let's say you've done all this. You've checked the compaction, you've checked your pest and disease, you don't have any issues in here, you don't have a thatch. Then I want you to go back and turn on the sprinklers. I want you to turn it on and actually see what the spray is, what direction it's going. Is the water penetrating down? Is it putting a lot of water on very fast, or is it putting on slowly and letting it penetrate? You want to take a look at all of that. And you might see that you have a sprinkler that simply turned the wrong direction. A very easy fix that's here. Turn that sprinkler back to the direction so it's penetrating the grass, putting the water on slowly and deeply just like you want. You might see that there's a sprinkler nozzle that's clogged. You might have a little grain of sand in there. You might have had an insect that crawled in there. And what you want to do on that is take that nozzle off. And for most sprinkler systems, you don't even need any tools to do this. You can do this just with your hands.
I don't believe that.
You can. You can. You can unscrew it yourself and take a look at it.
Oh, that little cap just comes off, doesn't it?
A little nozzle on top. And when you get that off, you want to be careful not to damage those, because the majority of these are plastic now. They're a high efficiency nozzle, which means that they're formed to very tight specifications. So if you see something jammed in there, don't distort that orifice to change that, because it'll change the amount of water that comes out and also the spray pattern. Sometimes it's simply just easier to replace that nozzle rather than it is to mess with it and try and clean it out.
Yeah, I noticed this, I did mine, and the springs go flying all over the place.
You got to be careful. There are springs. These things ratchet. They pop up. They pull down. There's a lot of things that your sprinkler can do, and it might just be easier just to replace that. And one key thing to keep in mind is if you're going to replacing any parts, make sure that they're identical matches to what you have in there already, because that will assure that you have what's called matched precipitation. When the system that we put in at the beginning, the water puts on the equal amount in all areas, and you want to maintain that.
So how do you know what sprinkler to look for if you're going to replace it? You can't do the calculations if you bought the house and it's already there.
What you can do is you can take that nozzle off, and we can look at it. There are numbers, there are codes that are there that you can take a look at, or bring it into a garden center and they can help you.
Great information. Thanks, Jeff.
You're welcome.
This is the Home 411 show, hosted by Randall Winter of Randall Winter Construction. We're talking all things landscape. More after this on AM 1220 KHTS.